Marek, and here is my partner today, Jenny Mari Koschimaki. And we are going to present an EUAD, which is also an abbreviation of End User Application Development. So what End User Application Development is? Simply put, it's just a set of collection of techniques, procedures, processes, methods, and tools that end users, like the users of the applications themselves, they can use to modify, alter, or edit, or add some more features to an existing software application. Why we need this discipline, end user application development? Because IT professionals and IT organizations have tons of things to do to create projects, and users are highly dynamic users. One end user might require one thing, and another end user might require a different design or feature. That's why we have to deal with end user application development today. I would like to give you an example of Firefox, Mozilla Firefox. Most of us are using Mozilla Firefox as their browsers instead of Internet Explorer, for example. And it has a lot of add-ons. And these add-ons are a good example of end user application development because every user is allowed to create an add-on by himself. There are many add-ons for Firefox, example, online shopping and efficient browsing, Google add-ons, and millions of goes on. Similarly, there are many other examples in which users are participating in creating the designs, improving the appearance, and adding the features to the existing softwares. What are the advantages associated with it? Firstly, that it encourages the innovation and creativity. Like I gave you the example of Firefox add-ons, you can browse by the add-on store and you can see that how good add-ons and how creative and important dictionary items and other browsing tools are available today is because of the vast workforce of the end users. There are other advantages that because it saves time, many end users will work on one specific product and they will bring together numerous advantages to the community. While there are advantages, there are some disadvantages as well associated with EUAD. And the biggest disadvantage is that it creates duplication of efforts. For example, one end user is working on Firefox add-on to create, for example, better online browsing tool. Another one is doing the same, let's say in some other part of the world. And therefore, this duplication of efforts is a waste of time. Also, the management can have no control over the quality of data, and they have lost control over how the end users are developing. Because end users are free, they are allowed to do whatever they want. Another good example is Google Android Store. I'm working on another course and we have a project. We are developing an Android application which we will release in the Android Store, and it's totally up to us how we are creating that application. So Google Android has no control on us. We are doing whatever we want on ourselves. And if the product is, the software is not good, then of course Google Android is not responsible for that, even though it's an Android-based application. Koschimaki will tell you more about the features and EUAD from ICT management's perspective.
Yeah. So basically, all the end user developers are not IT professionals, not by any means. They do not have any formal education on how to program, for example. And as it said here, if the end user developers are ignored and they build applications without help or knowledge from the IT organization, there is a real risk that they will fail miserably and create an unplanned burden for IT. So even if they mean well, they might end up using a huge mess. And therefore, the IT managers must be proactive and in managing end user developer initiatives by providing tools. So providing tools, frameworks, social structures, and such in to keep the guidelines. How do we do this, and what if there's some security risks? Tell about them and those kind of things. So it's really important to understand that while there's so many benefits in the end user developing, there's also high risks, and therefore there must be this way of control. And a very common way to think about it is this trust but verified approach. So control enough in order to enable the end users, but in a certain way also protect from themselves from themselves. Yeah. So that's about the UAT in a nutshell. We also have the handout. We can put it on the Moodle or first before the next class.
Yeah.
Have any questions?
Thank you very much.
I would like to make a question. Can you give an example of this word?
Well, it could be basically anything, you know. There might be several risks. For example, they could spread out some information from the company that it's not for everyone, for example, or they could create, you know, as Farooq also said, that they could actually develop the same kind of applications that do not work with each other, and that kind of burden.
Reputation loss of the company might be.
Yeah.
Image.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, please.
How does this differ from open source code?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. Open source is exactly the same thing that we are crowdsourcing, where many users are allowed to modify and create or work on a project. It differs might be in the way that they don't have to, users don't have to. If they wish, they can participate. For example, let's take back to the example of Firefox, and there are many, like 50 end users, and they don't have any liability for that. And if they make any mistakes, any problems, they are not liable, of course. It's okay to make mistakes in an end user application development. Open source might be very specific for particular softwares, whereas end user application development might be for any kind of application. Does that answer to your question?
So once again, based on the articles you have read, how should IT management and the IT department, what should be their relationship with these amateurs who are willing to make their own applications?
Well,
how should they deal with them?
At least in two of the articles, they suggest that there should be a certain people who are actually just working with the amateurs. You know, there should be a personal just to work with them and to educate them, such as in comparison, the IT professionals, they should concentrate on doing the big things and big projects and so on, and then there should be this other kind of people who just work on with the end users.
They should also support them,
Yeah.
like in the form of tools or according to article.
Yeah.
There should be some kind of a communication and there should be separate workforce in a big organization that should benefit from such end users and should provide them support whenever necessary in the form of communication or whatever is in their reach.
So attitude is that they could possibly do something good.
Yes, absolutely. Yet there must be the guidelines, how to do things, and there in the articles they greatly agree that there's a lot of benefits on using end user developers in developing.
Okay, one more question. Based on what you have read, what is the most common tool used by end users for developing applications?
There's at least from one source I found something about there are internet-based application development systems. I'm so not that familiar with the concept.
I came to know what that today there are many easy ways like on internet. If end users don't have specific knowledge about programming, they are so easy. If everything is on online, that you can use.
Yeah. Well, the answer to my question is, of course, Microsoft Excel. Because that is the tool why this is an important topic. That is why there are articles about this. Because people are doing applications by using Excel that are dangerous. They are counting wrong results or redundancy with data, or they are not easy to maintain. So Excel is dangerous in wrong hands. That's why this is very important for IT management. That's my opinion. That's what I have read. But what you mentioned is internet-based applications. I guess they are coming quite quickly also.
And there were certain companies that are actually selling these products, and they come to your company to educate the end users to develop their own applications. So I think it's an upcoming